I remember when the mansion felt alive, not just large or expensive, but warm. Every hallway carried laughter, plans, and the sound of dreams being built together. I believed I had everything a man could want. I had money, respect, and a wife who once looked at me like I was her entire world. I worked long hours, but I thought it was worth it because I was building a future for us. I trusted the walls around me. I trusted the silence at night. I trusted the life I paid for with my time and heart. What I did not know was that those same walls were learning my secrets. They listened while I slept. They stood still while whispers replaced affection. The house that once protected me slowly became a witness. It saw smiles turn calculated and love turn strategic. I walked through those rooms every day, unaware that my name was being spoken with cold intent. Looking back, the warning signs were everywhere. I believed love was louder than betrayal. I was wrong, and Mansion knew. My wife knew everything about me, or so I believed. She knew my routines, my fears, and the small habits I never spoke about. Every morning, she kissed me goodbye, asked about my meetings, and reminded me to take care of myself. Her smile felt familiar, safe, and honest. I never questioned it. I thought real love was quiet and steady, not loud or dramatic. I was proud that we understood each other without words. What I did not understand was how easily love can be rehearsed. Betrayal does not always arrive with anger or distance. Sometimes it arrives softly, wearing affection like a costume. She listened closely when I spoke, not because she cared, but because information has value. I shared my worries with her, believing she was my shelter. Instead, I was giving her weapons. At night, she slept beside me while secrets lived between us. Looking back, the warmth I felt was comfort, not loyalty, and comfort can be faked better than love. That truth still hurts me now, because I trusted her with my whole life. My business partner and I started with nothing except ambition and belief. We shared late nights, cheap meals, and big dreams that felt impossible at first. Together, we built our company brick by brick, celebrating every small victory like it was a miracle. I trusted him without hesitation. We sealed deals with handshakes, not contracts, because trust felt stronger than ink. I believed loyalty was our foundation. I defended him when others questioned his choices. I gave him access to everything, including my weaknesses. What I did not realize was that trust, when misplaced, becomes a weapon. The same knowledge that helped us grow would later be used to destroy me. He knew how I thought, how I planned, and how I protected myself. He knew where I was careless. While I believed we were brothers, he saw an opportunity. Success changed his hunger. Power sharpened his patience. By the time I noticed the distance between us, he had already crossed a line I never imagined he would approach, and that realization would cost me more than money or pride. Late one night, I sat alone in my office staring at financial reports that refused to make sense. The numbers looked clean at first glance, but something felt wrong. Small gaps appeared where certainty should live. Transfers moved quietly, almost politely, as if hoping not to be noticed. I told myself it was an accounting error. I wanted to believe that explanation. But doubt has a way of growing when ignored. I checked again, then again, following trails that led nowhere familiar. My chest tightened with every discovery. The deeper I looked, the clearer it became that someone was hiding something. These were not mistakes, they were decisions. Each number whispered a lie, and together they formed a story I did not want to hear. I thought about trust, about loyalty, about how much control I had given away. That night, sleep never came. Instead, clarity arrived quietly, carrying fear with it. I realized in that silence that my life was changing, and I could not stop it anymore. The truth was moving, and it was closer than I imagined. I asked my wife about the missing money in a calm, careless tone. I did not accuse her. I did not raise my voice. I wanted to believe there was an innocent answer. She paused, just for a moment, but that moment changed everything. Her eyes shifted, her smile froze, and fear slipped through before she could hide it. I felt it in my chest like a sudden drop. Love does not hesitate when it is honest. In that silence, I saw the truth I had been avoiding. She explained quickly, too quickly, offering reasons that sounded prepared. I nodded, pretending to accept them. Inside, something broke quietly. That brief pause told me more than words ever could. It was the first crack in her mask, small but undeniable. From that moment on, Every memory replayed differently. Every touch felt uncertain. I realized I was standing inside a lie, and the woman I trusted was no longer standing with me. That was when fear replaced comfort, and I understood my marriage was built on deception from the very beginning alone. I came home earlier than planned that night, expecting quiet. Instead, voices drifted through the marble halls, low and careless. I stopped walking when I heard my name spoken without warmth. I stood still, hidden by a pillar, listening to words I was never meant to hear. They spoke about insurance like it was a strategy, not my life. They discussed timing as if death could be scheduled politely. The word accident floated easily between them. Then my wife laughed softly. It was light, relaxed, almost playful. My business partner responded calmly, agreeing with her, like this was just another deal. In that moment, sound disappeared from the world. My heart pounded so loud I feared they would hear it. I felt dizzy, frozen, unable to breathe properly. Everything I believed about love and loyalty shattered silently inside me. I did not confront them, I did not move. I simply listened until the truth carved itself into my memory forever. That night, I left the house without them noticing, carrying a secret that changed me permanently, and nothing felt real. There was no misunderstanding left in my mind, no innocent explanation waiting to save them. They were stealing from me, slowly and deliberately, and they were planning my death. I locked myself inside my study and leaned against the door, shaking. My hands would not stop trembling. My heart raced like it wanted to escape my chest. Grief hit first, heavy and suffocating. I mourned the life I thought I had. Then rage followed, hot and dangerous. I wanted to scream, to break something, to demand answers. But anger burned out quickly, leaving something colder behind. Clarity settled in quietly, sharp and focused. I understood that fear would get me killed. I understood that love was already gone. Sitting alone in that room, I realized I was surrounded by enemies who smiled at me daily. That truth hurt more than any plan they made. I stayed awake until morning, staring at the walls, knowing nothing would ever be the same again. The silence felt louder than their voices ever had before. It crushed me completely inside without mercy or warning. Calling the police seemed right, but it would destroy everything I built and still not protect me. Confronting them would only speed up my death. I saw it clearly now. Survival required deception, not honesty. If they believed I was alive and suspicious, I would never last long. But if they thought I was gone, truly gone, they would relax. That thought scared me, yet it also gave me hope. I decided that night to disappear before they could finish their plan. If they wanted me dead, I would give them a convincing version of that truth. It was not about revenge yet. It was about staying alive long enough to think. I stopped seeing myself as a victim and started thinking like a strategist. Fear sharpened my mind instead of paralyzing it. I accepted that my old life was over. From that moment, every step I took had one purpose: survival first, justice later. I felt alone, but strangely powerful, because decisions finally belonged to me alone, and that realization kept me moving forward through the darkest hours ahead. I disappeared quietly, without goodbyes or explanations. I moved money carefully, transferring assets and closing accounts that could expose me. Every digital trail mattered now. I erased habits, changed routines, and studied my own life like an enemy would. I planned a death that would satisfy questions without raising new ones. A staged accident felt believable, tragic, and final. Pain hardened into focus as I worked. I did not allow myself to cry or hesitate. This was not running away. This was preparation. I learned how easily a man can vanish when he understands the system that once protected him. Every detail became important, from timing to witnesses to evidence. I slept very little, driven by urgency and fear. Each decision felt heavy, but necessary. I was burying my old identity piece by piece. The man I had been could not survive what was coming. I accepted that fully. This was not escape anymore. This was war, fought quietly with patience and precision. I reminded myself daily that mistakes would cost my life, and hesitation would end everything for me. The news of my death spread faster than I expected. Headlines called it a tragedy, an unbelievable loss. Cameras captured my wife collapsing into tears that looked convincing to everyone except me. I recognized the performance. My business partner spoke solemnly, praising my vision and legacy. He sounded calm, almost relieved. Watching from a distance, I felt detached from my own story. At the funeral, people wore black and spoke kindly about the man they believed was gone. I stood far away, hidden among strangers, listening to words meant for a ghost. When the coffin was lowered, my chest tightened. They were burying an empty box, but the moment still hurt. I realized death changes people instantly. Their future opened the moment mine supposedly closed. As they walked away from the grave, I understood something clearly. They had buried more than a body. They had buried trust, love, and mercy. And in doing so, they unknowingly gave me time, freedom, and the perfect disguise to begin my return. Standing there, I promised myself patience would win this war in silence. Only days after my funeral, the mourning ended. I watched from a distance as laughter returned to the mansion I once called home. Music played softly through open windows. Champagne bottles popped like quiet celebrations. My wife still wore black, but it no longer matched her mood. She smiled easily and shopped like a queen freed from limits. Grief, I learned, has an expiration date when money replaces love. Each laugh felt like another confirmation that my decision was right. I studied their comfort carefully, because comfort makes people careless. Friends visited again. Business dinners resumed. My absence became convenient. I felt anger rise, but I pushed it down. Rage would ruin everything. I needed patience. Watching them enjoy what they believed they had won hurt more than I expected. Still, I reminded myself this was temporary. They thought the danger was gone. They believed the past was buried. That belief was my greatest weapon. As they celebrated, they unknowingly gave me control. I was no longer chasing them. They were walking freely into every trap I planned with calm precision, and they never once looked over their shoulders again. Returning to their world required me to become someone new. I changed my name, my appearance, and even the way I spoke. I practiced calm, distance, and patience. I became a quiet investor with connections, the kind of man people trust without questions. My past had to disappear completely. Every movement I made was careful and intentional. When I finally stepped back into their world, no one recognized me. That was the hardest and most powerful moment. I stood close to people who once knew everything about me, and I was invisible. I listened more than I spoke. I observed habits, weaknesses, and fears that had grown since my death. Being unseen gave me clarity. I was no longer emotional. I was focused. Each conversation gave me information. Each meeting moved me closer. I felt strange living beside my old life like a shadow, but I accepted it. This identity was not a mask. It was armor. I reminded myself daily that ghosts have advantages the living never notice, and as long as I stayed patient, I could move freely through their lives without resistance or suspicion. I spoke to my wife only in passing, always polite and controlled. I mentioned my own legacy as if it belonged to history, not me. I watched her carefully when I did. Guilt flashed behind her eyes before fear quickly replaced it. She tried to hide it, but I saw everything. She drank more than before. She slept less. Her confidence faded slowly, night by night. Sometimes I heard she cried alone, not from love but from fear of exposure. Guilt weighs differently when there is no forgiveness waiting. I did not comfort her. I did not accuse her. I let silence do the work. The more I spoke calmly, the more unstable she became. I realized guilt does not need punishment to grow. It feeds on imagination. Every time I mentioned the man she believed was dead, her posture changed. She feared consequences she could not see. Watching her unravel was painful but necessary. I reminded myself that she made her choices without mercy. I was simply allowing the truth to follow her. And the truth is heavier than lies when time passes slowly. Once fear weakened her, I fed her greed. I offered opportunities wrapped in promises of easy wealth, new investments, bigger returns, faster success. She listened closely, leaning forward like a gambler chasing a win. Greed drowned the caution she once pretended to have. She wanted more than comfort now. She wanted control. I watched her borrow recklessly, sign documents carelessly, and move money without thinking. She believed consequences ended with my death. That belief made her bold. I never pushed too hard. I let her convince herself. Every decision felt like her own idea. That was important. The deeper she went, the harder it would be to escape. I stayed calm and supportive, never rushing her. Greed grows best when it feels safe. I saw the woman I married disappear completely, replaced by someone desperate to stay ahead. She crossed lines easily, telling herself she deserved it. I felt no joy watching this, only certainty. This was not cruelty. This was exposure. I gave her exactly what she wanted and allowed her to destroy herself with it, and she never once questioned my intentions. While she collapsed under greed, I focused on my former partner. I approached him carefully, never aggressively. I whispered reassurance when he doubted himself. I encouraged shortcuts when pressure grew. I praised his intelligence and reminded him of past success. He responded exactly as I expected. The man who once valued loyalty now valued speed and secrecy. I watched him take risks he would have avoided before. Each shortcut left a trail. Each decision exposed another crime. I never forced him. I simply removed his fear of consequences. That was enough. His confidence grew while his caution disappeared. He believed he was smarter than everyone else. That belief blinded him. I collected evidence patiently, letting his own actions do the work. There was no rush. Time was on my side now. The net tightened naturally with every choice he made. I remembered the man he used to be, and that memory hurt. But loyalty without integrity means nothing. I reminded myself that he chose betrayal long before I chose revenge. By the time he realized something was wrong, every exit was already closed, and he had locked them himself without realizing it. The cracks appeared slowly, then all at once. Investigations began quietly, but their impact was loud. Accounts froze without warning. Payments failed. Phone calls went unanswered. Rumors spread faster than facts, slipping through the mansion like cold air. The house grew quiet again, but this time it was not peaceful. Fear replaced laughter. Every room felt heavy, watching, listening. Love was gone completely. Trust became poison. I watched from a distance as the walls that once echoed with ambition now held tension instead. My wife paced more often. My former partner shouted at people who could no longer protect him. They blamed employees, luck, even each other. No one looked inward. I saw panic creep into their daily routines. Expensive furniture could not hide desperation. Security systems could not protect secrets. The mansion, once a symbol of power, became a cage. I felt no joy yet, only confirmation. Everything was unfolding exactly as it needed to. Their confidence was cracking, and with it, their ability to control the narrative. I stayed patient. Fear makes people careless. Carelessness reveals truth, and truth does not need force to surface. It only needs time and pressure applied carefully. Her fall was public and merciless. The fraud surfaced without mercy, and cameras returned to the mansion, not for mourning, but for disgrace. Headlines used her name like a warning. Friends disappeared overnight. Invitations stopped. Luxury evaporated faster than it arrived. I watched her stand before reporters, shaking, denying everything with a voice that no longer convinced anyone. The woman who once planned my death now begged for mercy she never intended to give me. I saw fear replace arrogance completely. Lawyers avoided her. Accounts closed. Doors locked. She cried in places where she once celebrated. The world she built on lies collapsed loudly. I felt something unexpected then. Not joy, not satisfaction, just a heavy sadness. This was the woman I once loved. But love does not erase accountability. She made her choices carefully, believing she was untouchable. Now she understood how exposed she truly was. I did not step forward. I did not interfere. I let consequences speak. Watching her lose everything confirmed one truth clearly. Greed does not protect you when truth arrives. It abandons you first, and she was finally alone with it. The authorities did not stop with surface crimes. They dug deeper, following trails my former partner thought were buried forever. Bribes surfaced. Offshore accounts appeared. Crimes older than my own betrayal came into the light. I learned how long he had been living two lives. Watching him sit alone in interrogation rooms felt surreal. He looked smaller than I remembered, less confident, less powerful. The man who once spoke with certainty now struggled to answer simple questions. I stayed invisible, letting evidence do the work. He realized too late that every shortcut he took led him closer to exposure. His lawyers stopped returning calls. His excuses collapsed under documentation. For the first time, he felt trapped by decisions he once defended. I saw regret in his eyes through surveillance photos and reports. Not regret for betraying me, but regret for trusting his own cleverness too much. That distinction mattered. He was not sorry for what he did. He was sorry it failed. That realization closed something inside me. Loyalty means nothing without integrity. He had chosen this path long before I disappeared. I only removed the illusion of safety. The rest was always waiting beneath the surface. Even as everything collapsed around them, sleep refused to come easily for me. I watched from the shadows, but victory did not feel sweet yet. At night, memories returned uninvited. I remembered the woman I once loved, the way she laughed when life was simple. I remembered the man I trusted, the dreams we shared before ambition changed him. Revenge is powerful, but memory is painful. I questioned myself in quiet moments. Was this justice or obsession? I reminded myself why I started. Survival came first. Truth came second. Still, emotions are not logical. I carried both relief and grief at the same time. Some nights, I replayed moments when I ignored warning signs. Other nights, I focused on the present, grounding myself in patience. I knew the final step was approaching. I needed to be steady, not emotional. Sleep eventually came in short bursts, filled with dreams that mixed past and present. I accepted that healing would come later. Right now, clarity mattered more than comfort. I had come too far to lose control now. The end required calm strength, not celebration, and I promised myself I would finish this without becoming what they believed I was. I arranged the final meeting carefully. A familiar room, familiar faces, neutral ground where escape would not be easy. Everything needed to feel ordinary until it wasn't. I rehearsed my words, not to sound dramatic, but to stay calm. When I walked in, I saw arrogance disappear instantly. Fear replaced it the moment they recognized me. Alive, breathing, real. Silence filled the room like a heavy curtain. My wife froze, her face drained of color. My former partner stood slowly, eyes wide, as if seeing a ghost. I felt steady, grounded, and clear. This moment was not about anger. It was about truth. I looked at them without hatred. That surprised me. I realized I had already let go of the need for revenge. What remained was accountability. They tried to speak, but words failed them. Lies lose power when confronted by reality. I did not raise my voice. I did not threaten. My presence was enough. Everything they built on my absence collapsed in seconds. Standing there, I understood something important. The strongest justice is not loud. It is undeniable. And in that moment, I knew the end was no longer something I feared. It was something I controlled completely. I spoke calmly, even though my heart was loud inside my chest. I told them clearly and slowly that they tried to kill me. Every word landed heavy in the room. Their excuses came fast at first, then fell apart just as quickly. My wife cried, shaking, reaching for explanations that no longer mattered. My former partner avoided my eyes, promising loyalty he never had. I did not interrupt them. I let the truth stand on its own. I explained what I heard, what I saw, and how I survived. Silence followed each sentence. There was nothing left to argue. Fear replaced denial. Tears flowed, but they felt empty to me. Promises mean nothing when trust is dead. I realized I felt no anger anymore, just distance. Seeing them exposed did not bring joy. It brought closure. In that moment, they understood something important. I was not a ghost. I was not a victim. I was the consequence of their choices, standing alive in front of them, calm, undeniable, and finished running with no fear left in my voice anymore. He didn't need violence to finish this. I didn't scream or raise my hands. I stepped back and let the law move forward. Evidence spoke louder than emotion ever could. Investigators listened carefully. Courts followed procedures without mercy or favoritism. Watching justice work felt strange, almost quiet. Prison doors closed where mansion gates once opened wide. My wife lost her freedom, not through revenge, but through consequences. My former partner lost his power the same way. I attended nothing publicly. I signed papers, answered questions, and stayed invisible. This was not about humiliation. It was about truth being recorded permanently. I felt relief, but also sadness. I never wanted this ending, only safety. Still, justice does not ask what we want. It asks what happened. I learned that strength does not always look like force. Sometimes it looks like patience and restraint. Walking away without bloodshed was my final decision. I chose not to become what they believed I was capable of becoming. Letting the law finish the story gave me something revenge never could. Peace built on fairness lasts. I left the mansion one final time without looking back. The building still stood tall and impressive, but it felt empty to me. Power without loyalty had destroyed everything inside those walls. Every room held memories that no longer belonged to me. I walked slowly, letting each step close a chapter of my life. I remembered laughter, plans, and promises that once felt permanent. Now they were lessons instead. I did not feel regret for leaving. I felt release. The mansion was never the dream. Trust was, and that had been broken long before I disappeared. As I crossed the gate, I felt lighter, like I was finally breathing fully again. I understood then that walking away is not weakness, it is clarity. Holding on to ruins only cuts deeper. I chose to carry wisdom, not bitterness. The past no longer owned me. I left behind money, status, and illusion. What I kept was myself. That mattered more than any house ever could. The mansion faded behind me, but my future finally opened forward, quiet, honest, and free at last. Years passed and my life became smaller but more honest. I lived simply, without spotlights or false smiles. No one knew my past unless I chose to share it. I woke up peacefully, worked quietly, and slept without fear. Peace, earned through pain, felt richer than any fortune I ever held. I learned to enjoy ordinary moments again. Morning light, silent rooms, conversations without hidden meanings. I trusted slowly, carefully, and with boundaries. Healing did not arrive suddenly. It came in pieces, through routine and reflection. Some days memories returned, but they no longer controlled me. I had survived something that once defined me. Now it was only part of my story. I stopped chasing power and started valuing calm. Money lost its grip on my decisions. Time became my greatest reward. I understood that happiness is not loud. It is steady. It grows when fear leaves. I was no longer running or hiding. I was simply living, present and grounded. That quiet life gave me something revenge never could. It gave me myself back, whole, aware, and at peace. I learned a lesson they never did. Betrayal may feel clever in the moment. Greed may feel powerful when it works, but patience outlives them both. I watched people destroy themselves by rushing, lying, and underestimating consequences. I chose to wait, observe, and think. That choice saved my life. The dead do not always stay buried. Sometimes they return wiser, quieter, and stronger. I became proof of that truth. I do not share my story for sympathy. I share it as a warning. Trust should be protected. Power should be questioned. Love should never be blind. When people believe they have won, they reveal who they truly are. That is when patience matters most. I survived because I listened when others celebrated. I stayed silent when others grew loud. In the end, I did not need revenge to win. I needed time. Time exposed lies, fear, and weakness. If there's one truth worth remembering, it is this. You cannot outrun truth forever. It waits, and when it arrives, it remembers everything you tried to hide, without mercy or excuses.